What does the UltraBOOST 5.0 look like? Is there a caged version of this? Why did they skip from 2019, 2020 and back to 5.0? And most importantly of all, is this the reboot that the Adidas UltraBOOST line needs to get back on top? With all that in mind, let's get into this video and take a close-up look at the upcoming release of the Adidas UltraBOOST 5.0. This is the Tokyo Bada 23 Sneaker Channel. Tokyo Bada 23 Sneaker Channel des. Mainichi Upsurno no den, Mainichi Mite Kusai. And every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews. And we're into year 3 of these daily sneaker videos without a single day missed. More than 732 days of non-stop continuous content. The next goal is that 1,000 day mark, to try and do 1,000 consecutive days on YouTube. And here we are churning out the content. And it's a shoe that when I saw it, I was just like, whoa, where did that come from? Now, I might have missed a beat. I might have been sleeping for all I know. Now, I do these daily drops on YouTube, right? So I'm looking at these shoes closely. I'm watching release calendars. I'm checking social media and stuff like that. So I don't usually miss a shoe, but sometimes it does happen. This one, it's the first time I've seen it, but I might be behind the curve, and you guys out there might be like, this is old news. If that's so, I missed the beat. I missed out on one shoe. I didn't realize it, but I don't think so. I think this is the first look of these 5.0s. Now, there have been the Ultra 4D 5.0s, which is a whole different story to do with a 3D printed midsole, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the iconic UltraBOOST 1.0, 2.0, 3.0 and 4.0s, an amazing silhouette, incredible shoe, absolutely fire, that suddenly went to UltraBOOST 2019 and 2020, and now we're back in that 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0 line with the 5.0s. That's what I'm seeing, and if I've got that wrong, definitely let me know in the comments down below, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about whether or not this is a reboot for the UltraBOOST line. People were really surprised when we went from the UltraBOOST 4.0 iconic silhouette to the UltraBOOST 2019, which was a very different shoe. And my only criticism of that shoe was the cage on the side, which looked very cheap. The cage on the side, which looked very cheap. And I thought if they took that off and went with an uncaged version, it would have been an absolutely fire shoe. And I kind of liked the update on the heel counter on the back. And then there's the 2020s, which were very similar to the 2019s. And then we're back to this, more of a sort of straight line between the 4.0s and the 5.0s. And you've got to ask the question, why did they make that jump? Why did they make that transition out of that 1.0 to 4.0 sort of line that they had going, and then off to 2019, 2020, and now back to the 5.0s? So is this just a one-off to celebrate the 5th anniversary of UltraBOOST, which isn't really an anniversary we need to be celebrating, if we're honest? Or is this a reboot? Are they back to that sort of lineage that they had going with the original silhouettes and the original style of the shoe? Now, there is one thing from those OG lines that is carried through to these guys, and then there's one thing that's not. So let's get into all that today and have a look at the details of this shoe and look at why it's actually in line with that OG lineage, and it could be the reboot that the UltraBOOST line has been looking for the last couple of years. So the thing that is there, the thing that has carried on from those OG silhouettes, is right here. It's that beautiful heel cup on the end of the UltraBOOST line, which is just, I think it's kind of iconic in a way. It was a big step forward in shoes when these guys came out, a unique sort of feature, and it's that kind of cup that houses your heel in there and gives you the stability on there, and it's the design of that matters, but also it's the branding on the side that says UltraBOOST that matters as well. Sometimes it's in the same color as the heel counter itself, or the heel cup itself, and other times it's contrast, but today I think we've got a bit more of contrast. There's two colorways that we're looking at, and what I've probably got up on the screen right now is the grey one, but there's also a cream one as well, and both of them are the same silhouette, and it's just the colors that are different. And yes, they both have that classic heel cup on the back there, so that's a big yes for me. It's great to see that back, but what they don't have is the cage going forward. Now, these are labeled as uncaged women's. Now, I read somewhere they'd already dropped in Europe on December the 1st, which would surprise me a ton if I missed out on the shoe and didn't notice it. Like I said, I research shoes every single day, and if I missed out on a shoe this big, I'd be shocked. But it did say December 1st already dropped in Europe. Let me know if you know that for true or for false. But I'm seeing a drop date coming up in mid to late December for these, and I'm hoping it's that reboot, like I was saying, that I was talking about. And a big part of that is that it's an uncaged women's shoe. So when we look at the cage element on the side, of course it's not there. Uncaged Ultra Boost 3.0 and 4.0 are one of my favorite shoes of all time, especially the 3.0 Chinese New Year. I thought it was a really beautiful, iconic shoe, and the uncaged element of it was a real big step forward in design. I absolutely loved that. And these guys are uncaged. So if we zoom in on where the cage would be, you do have 3-stripe branding on there, which is new, if you like, to Ultra Boost 5.0s, because usually when it's uncaged in Ultra Boost Uncaged before this, it was on the toe that you had the branding, but it's on the standard sort of mid-foot section where you've got that 3-stripe branding. But rather than being a cage, it's just embedded in the prime knit. So they've lost that element of the original kind of silhouettes with the cage being different, even though it's an uncaged shoe and the branding would normally be on the toe, but now it's up there on the midfoot, which makes you wonder what the caged versions are going to look like. But it brings us very close to the sort of main thing that I'm looking at on this shoe that I just can't get away from, and that's the prime knit. That's the big design feature on this shoe for me. Having the embedded 3-stripe branding, it's not such a big deal on a shoe. Having the OG heel counters on there, or heel cups on there, not such a big thing because it's the OG, you know, it's not a step forward. But the positioning and the style of the prime knit is in 4 different places, and that to me is a big step forward. So we're going to start high and work our way low and look at those 4 different places. Place number 1 is looking on the tongue, where you'll see a very tight knit with pretty much a single color in the prime knit up there. So it's a really solid sort of tongue section on the shoe, very much defined from the rest of the shoe, and it gives it its own sort of position in the shoe. But then you come down from that to the highest part of the main part of the shoe with the ankle, and it's almost like squares or hexagons, much bigger, broader prime knit. That tight knit that you get on the tongue is lost, and now we've got a bigger, kind of more spread out section of the prime knit in the shoe, very distinct between the tongue and the top line, the ankle area of the shoe there. And then even more distinct than that is when we get to the midfoot and the lacing section, where it's just straight lines going forward. So you've lost that kind of tight knit dotting pattern of the tongue, the big knit kind of hexagons or square pattern of the ankle, and now we're on straight lines running parallel to that beautiful full length Ultra Boost Boost midsole on there, and that kind of runs across the whole section of the shoe, up the midfoot, across the laces, and then down the midfoot on the other side. So it's like a cylinder for your foot to fit in, with the lines running fore and aft. And then at the very front of the shoe, you've got this kind of reboot retro 1.0 OG prime knit design going on up there, which is very distinct from the other parts of the shoe. So very distinct, separate 4 different parts of the shoe in terms of the prime knit. But I think it works. I think it's very, very cool. I still did like the prime knit, especially of the 2019s. And like I said, I would have liked to seen them in an uncaged version and just take off that very cheap looking cage on the side. The 2020s were a bit, I don't know, average for me, a bit dull. So I'm happy to see them go back to a more kind of expressive and sort of innovative prime knit on the upper, rather than that simple stuff we saw with the 2020s. And then the last thing to really get into, well, there's 2 things really, I suppose. Let's go to the outsole just so we can see that torsion system on there. And I will tell you that it's the Continental rubber that makes up the outsole, with the little windows that look through to the Boost midsole on the inside. Of course, because these guys have white Boost midsoles, that means that it's white Boost that you're looking through. It's been an update on the Adidas Boost lines recently to colour the outsole Boost, even though I know it's not outsole, but looking through those little windows through the Continental rubber, you'd normally see white Boost on the inside, but they've actually been colouring that Boost on the inside as well as on the lateral and the medial sides, and I'm wondering if they'll go somewhere with that on these 5.0s. And then the last thing, like I said, with the torsion system on there as well, which is obviously retained and is hopefully showing up pretty well on the green screen. And then the last thing is to have a peek down onto the insole and ask what it says there, because I'm pretty sure it says something like Prime BO or something to that effect, but obviously there's more to it than that, and you just can't see the rest of the word. And there's also a nod to the Parley line, and the Parley side of things, with Parley for the oceans, a lot of recycled elements in shoes these days. And that begs the question, is this a one-off? Is this just a unique shoe for a unique time, like an anniversary edition to celebrate 5 years of the Ultra Boost? Or is it that reboot, which I hope it is, for the UltraBoost line. I feel like they lost their way a little bit with the 2019 and 2020. They didn't really have that lineage between the 4.0s and the 2019s. And even though the 2019s were basically a nice shoe except for that cage, it was too different from the 4.0s, and people were kind of like, and they lost a lot of interest in the UltraBoost line. But if they'd had a sort of more sort of consecutive feel to that, which this shoe would have been, a really clean jump from 4.0 to 5.0, it maybe would have satisfied a lot more customers. So it's a big yes for me. I do hope that this is back to the 5.0s and we keep going with that. It's very odd that they had 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0 and then jumped to 2019, 2020 and then back to 5.0. I have no idea if they'll continue with that and we'll have a bunch of 5.0s throughout 2021 and then come 2022 6.0s and 7.0s, or if they'll jump around with the year numbers. But for me, it's great to see them kind of back to that OG kind of feel, the DNA of the original silhouettes of the UltraBoost line. I think it's a big yes as far as I'm concerned. Hopefully it's a sign of things to come. Now, if you guys know more about these shoes, about the drop dates, about where they're going to release throughout the year, or if it's a one-off, definitely talk about it in the comments down below. That's why we all get to learn. I love to learn at this channel, so I would like it to hear from you guys and to learn a bit more about these shoes. But as soon as I saw it, I was like making a video. Hopefully I haven't been sleeping and I haven't missed out on one of the biggest shoes or the biggest stories of the year in sneakers, and hopefully this isn't just that one-off and it does signal the start of new things and return to form for the UltraBoost line. Okay, time for me to sign off. Check it out. It's 1 o'clock in the morning on what night is it? It's Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, so I've got to get this tucked away, put the video in the computer but leave it for editing for another day. Work tomorrow, so I'm going to get off and do that. So I'll do what I do at the end of every single video, which is just thank you guys for checking out the content, sign off and say that I do this every single day, and because I do it every single day, that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.